Oh, you're so sweet, I swear. Te mando un besito.
All right, we're live. Disco Acid Cult TV.
What's up?
Shoot, nothing much aside from our main topic today. How was your day?
My day was all right. I got some shit done around the house. I've been trying to get my shit done and then walk like 10,000 to 15,000 steps a day because I became a fat fucking piece of shit and I just need to start moving. So I've been trying to do that. So I did that today. Not willingly, but I chugged along and completed it. But yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, 15,000 steps. That's a lot. It's crazy how like as boring of a topic as the steps are. It's crazy how like quick steps add up. Like you hear 15,000, like there's no way. But then even if
Yeah.
you count your steps, just like walking around your house all day, like oh, you actually get a lot of steps in. Just like as long as you don't
Yeah.
lay down, basically.
Well, 15,000's a lot. Like
Yeah.
my doctor's like, I got this new doctor, and I love like doctors that don't sugarcoat shit that aren't like.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you can do one of two things. He's like, you can keep going the way you're going, and then be on dialysis in like 3 years. He's like, or you could just do what I'm going to tell you, and you can lose the fucking weight. I was like, okay, I'll take number two.
That is exactly what you need.
Yeah, yeah. So, what about you though? What have you been up to?
Nothing. Nothing today, really.
Right
Um,
on.
I cleaned up some stuff in my room. That's about it. I got to work on. I'm working on a dude. I've been talking about working on movie videos for so long, but I finally have started working on it. I want to do a video on 16 Candles. That's been my new goal.
Never
So
actually seen that.
you what?
I've never seen that.
Honestly, I don't think you. It's an '80s teen comedy romance movie. You know, it's one of those John
Yeah,
Hughes movies, like
yeah,
Molly Ringwald.
probably not a. That's definitely up more your alley.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not Easy Rider, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I wanna cover it because I was complaining about this recently. There are some things in the movie that a lot of people would argue haven't aged well, it was the '80s comedy, and, I don't think the movie's all that inappropriate at all, so I wanna cover it straight. I was complaining whenever you watch reviews about it, you basically get 10 minutes of, "This movie is awesome, I've loved this movie since I was a kid, this is one of my favorite movies of all time," and then they just launch into a whole hour-long lecture about how the Asian character is racist, and this is inappropriate, and this is bad, and it's like, "Bro, I just wanna listen to someone talk about the fucking movie." So I just wanna talk
right.
about the movie, and I'm not even gonna mention a single word about, like, I will obviously have to be like, "Oh, here's my interpretation of this part," or whatever, but I'm not gonna lecture people about why this part didn't age well because I don't think it's that bad. So,
Right.
but, no, other than that, man, these girls on Facebook are killing me. I guess I'll just get into it. My mom texted me, like, early that's how I found out it was my mom texted me. She was like, "Did Ozzy Osbourne really die?" And at first, I almost texted her back and said no because, he played his last show, and everybody was talking about it like it was his funeral. Remember that? Like, for the 2 weeks, everybody was like, "What's up, Proto Max?" Everybody was like, "Yeah, Ozzy's, which actually is kinda weird because now it makes everybody sound like they were right, there were people arguing on Facebook like, "Bro, he's not dead, he just played his last show, stop talking about it like he's dead." And then sure
Right.
enough, 2 weeks later, he's dead, but yeah, my mom texted me and she was like, "Did Ozzy really die?" I was like, "No," but then I Googled it and saw like, "Oh shit, he did." So, that was how I got that news basically. Yeah, the timing is crazy, like you were saying. It was very quick timing. Like I was saying, I would my logical side leans on his doctor gave him an estimate and just said, hey, you've got this much longer left to live. And him and Sharon probably jumped on booking this festival or the show or whatever. But it is crazy. What was it like? It's been 2 weeks, right? I think it's been like exactly 2 weeks almost.
About that, yeah. It feels like it was. It feels like it happened sooner than that. I mean, it just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, super crazy timing. If it was, like the thing that's crazy about the timing is that, like, if he really was, like, on death's doorstep for that last show, like, I mean, there's, like, a somewhat chance we could have seen this guy die in that chair on stage, you know what I mean? Like, something could have happened. He could have, like, fallen over or off the chair or something, or
Right. Yeah, and he, like I was telling you before, considering the circumstances, I thought he did phenomenal. I mean, that man has done so much abuse to his body with, drugs and alcohol alone, and then you're going to throw, Parkinson's on top of it. I think he did phenomenal for, the cards that were dealt for him. Um, and I think all the other, all the other artists did well also. Only artist I thought didn't do so good was the dude Ghost or whatever. The fucking
oh, yeah.
I thought they sounded like shit, but everybody else sounded great. And dude, big shout out to Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
He sounded excellent, especially doing a Led Zeppelin cover at that age with that range. I know he's known for his range, but he sounded phenomenal, dude.
Well, Steven Tyler, what's crazy about that is, one, I do stand by, he looks like a really badass skeleton now. Like, he just looks so frail, but really cool at the same time. But what's crazy about him is that, remember, they just retired because he injured his voice.
Yeah,
And so people were like, "How is he doing this? He just injured his voice." And, people were saying he can probably do a one-off here and there, but they can't tour is what it sounds like. He can't consistently sing like that.
right.
So for just having a vocal injury, this recently and then just coming out, yeah, Steven Tyler's I've gotten more into Aerosmith as I've gotten older. I love as much as I hate to admit it, like their 90s ballads, I think are like awesome. Like what's that one? I don't want to miss a thing. Like I fucking love that song. And yeah, Aerosmith. I mean, yeah, Steven Tyler is just really, and he just fucking looks so badass. He's like anybody, like I always say about Rob Zombie, like you never see a picture or video of Rob Zombie where you're like, oh, I don't wish I looked like that because he always looks cool. As much as people give Steven Tyler shit, there are some pictures, I guess, where he does look like an ant. He looks like your alcoholic aunt or something. Sure,
Yeah.
maybe once in a while, but generally, anytime I see Steven Tyler fucking with like flags hanging from the microphone stand and like he's swinging, and dude, he looks fucking badass. Like that guy gets girls for sure.
Yeah, and like I was saying about before about Ozzy abusing his body. They all went through the ringer, dude. Like coke, heroin, and we're talking serious fucking, thousands and thousands, and maybe even millions of dollars worth of, drugs that they went through, and you know, they uh, they still come out looking pretty decent for that age. I'd like to see anybody else, go through the ringer like that and see what they look like in their 70s. Um, I'd be dead probably.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Ghost either. I'm curious to know why, speaking of Rob Zombie, I'm curious to know why he wasn't there. Because
I thought of that. I thought of that too.
and he's not busy. I mean, I don't obviously we don't know what's going on, but they're only doing a couple festivals this year. It's not like he was on tour already or anything. And then yeah, Motley Crue wasn't there, but I saw people saying that Vince Neil apparently just had a surgery recently, so Vince Neil could have been out. I know people are speculating it was Motley Crue, the band that got kicked off for wanting money,
Right.
but some people in some comments were saying no, they read that Vince Neil just got a surgery recently or something, and today,
Cheeseburger removed from throat
yeah, they
surgery.
were removing some of the gut. But, yeah, Vince and Tommy were or not Vince and Tommy, Nikki and Tommy were posting about Ozzy today, and, again, speaking of Rob Zombie posted a nice post for Ozzy and then deleted it like 5 minutes later. I'm also curious about that. Not that I
Weird.
think there's anything weird going on, it just that, Rob Zombie's funny because he's one of those guys, you can tell that he actually runs his own Instagram because there's, like, old man typos all over the place. Like, it looks like your dad on Instagram when he's posting. So, for all we know, like he sat down on his phone and accidentally deleted the post or something like that. But um,
I was surprised to not see um Marilyn Manson. I know he did a quick cameo. They put his video up, but like I was surprised to see Marilyn Manson not there because
isn't
they're really
he? Is he on tour right now?
not sure.
I know he's been back in the game. He could be like out doing stuff right now or something. I don't know, but Yeah, no, he wasn't there. You know, obviously they weren't gonna be able to fit every band in the world on there, I guess, but then there were some that were kinda surprising, like Guns N' Roses was on there, which I know Slash and Ozzy are cool, but, like, Axl Rose posted and said he'd never met Ozzy before in his life, which is crazy to think that
Yeah.
Ozzy and Axl never met before.
Yeah, I saw that. Weird.
Yeah, no, everybody liked Ozzy, even if you don't think, like, Kurt Cobain liking Ozzy doesn't make a lot of sense, but everybody like, Ozzy's like anybody, you
I
know,
think I think the unique thing about Ozzy is, all right, he comes from, Black Sabbath, one of the best groundbreaking metal bands of all time. And then he leaves. Like, people are like, "You're fucking crazy. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving?" And he's like, "Nah, like, watch this solo career I'm about to start." And then he fucking, Diary of a Madman. It's funny. The first album is never normally like one of the best albums for like solo artists or any artist. And that fucking album is so amazing from fucking front to fucking back, from beginning to end. That's what I think so unique about him, dude. He's had such a successful career and everything he's done. And he's done it fucking exceptional. Um, I remember I guess because of my age, I've heard Ozzy's solo stuff before I heard Black Sabbath stuff. So I was immediately addicted to, when I was a kid listening to Ozzy, and then I was like, okay, Black Sabbath, and then listened to them and fell in love, dude. Like, almost every Black Sabbath album is phenomenal. It's crazy. It's just I don't know. He's an exceptional artist.
yeah, the sad thing is that maybe not sad yeah, sad overall, but good for Ozzy. You know, my favorite stuff is early Sabbath, like Master of Reality is my favorite. Children of the Grave is my favorite song.
Oh yeah,
Anything to do with Ozzy, Sweet Tea is a great, it's Sweet Leaf or Sweet Tea. I can never fucking
Sweet
remember.
Leaf. Yeah,
Sweet Leaf, great song. Um, but at least to me, anyways, once Ozzy left, I know some people give the Dio era some credit. Some people like the Dio era. As far as I can tell, if being fully honest, and sure, some metalheads might want to jump on me for it, but I'm just saying it from where I'm standing. No one gave a fuck about Sabbath without Ozzy. Let's just be real
yep,
here. Once Ozzy left, people jumped ship and went to Ozzy. People hopped on the crazy train. They were done with Black Sabbath. Dio's most popular thing is his own solo stuff. Holy Diver is what he's known for. So that was one of those examples where when the singer left, people they followed Ozzy. They did not follow Sabbath. They followed Ozzy. And I think that kind of is like a testament to just like the personality that the guy was. We got to talk about first. So I'm a late bloomer to a lot of old stuff. When I was in like middle school and high school, it wasn't cool to like old stuff, at least where I was living. I did get into some old rock and roll as a kid for a little bit. Like after School of Rock, I got into AC/DC. I got into Guns N' Roses for a time. But to Ozzy, I was a late bloomer. I always knew the name, because he was just a celebrity in the early 2000s, right? He was on MTV, he was doing Meet the Osbournes. So I was always aware of him. I always heard his name. I also went to a Christian school, so it's not like I was ever encouraged or, to listen to Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath. So my first real exposure, Proto Max will love this. My first real exposure, the first time I actually was watching TV and saw Ozzy Osbourne with a microphone in his hand singing, was in 2007. He did a performance on WWE Friday Night SmackDown with Zach Wild. In the Zach Wild era, he played I Don't Want to Stop, which is now one of my, it's like, I know no one likes that stuff. That's like the cheesy early 2000s Ozzy. But I love that shit because I love I Don't Want to Stop. I think it's a great song. So that was my first time I actually really was like, oh, okay, this is this guy fucking Ozzy Osbourne on SmackDown. Yeah, WWE used to do these like one-offs, like just some band would show up and perform on TV. Like they had Motley Crue, I think, in like the late 90s. And yeah, 2007, Ozzy Osbourne and Zach Wild. That was also my first time seeing Zach Wild, who I've always liked. I like him. People criticize him for all the pinch harmonics. I like that shit. I think that shit sounds cool.
I think he sounds great. I mean, and think about it, filling shoes. I mean, not that the shoes could ever be filled, but Randy Rhodes
Oh yeah.
died. I mean, how do you even, Think about Randy Rhoads, dude. I truly believe if he didn't pass away, he would have been labeled right up there with Hendrix, right up there with all the best guitar players of all time. He got cut so short. I mean, if he was that good in his 20s, imagine what he can give us in his 50s or his 40s or his 30s. Like he was, one of the best of all time. Um, I wanted to note on what you said about the Dio era of Black Sabbath. Like, I agree with you. Is the fucking shittiest era. Like, record sales went down. Nobody gave a shit when Black Sabbath lost Ozzy. And I remember, dude, I was in like, I don't know, I was like a sophomore year in high school or freshman maybe. It's like my mom's like, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'm like, "I want a Black Sabbath greatest hit CD." And what CD does my fucking dad buy me? Fucking Dio, fucking Black Sabbath, dude. I still have it. I've listened to it like one time. It was like trash, dude. I was like, of course, this motherfucker probably got it on sale. He was probably like, "Oh, this is 13.99. Fuck!" Instead of the sold our souls for rock and roll that was like $30, but every song was good. I was like, this motherfucker, dude.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I remember he was like, I opened it, he like wrapped it. He's like, "You thought I forgot about you, didn't you, son?" And I'm like, "I wish you would have forgot about me because,
Yeah.
like, I didn't want to make him feel bad." So I'm like, "Thanks." You know,
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, the
yeah.
Dio era. Just
Heaven and Hell is the only remotely decent song they even came out with. Like Dio is great as a solo in his own right, as a solo artist. He's a badass, but like he just wasn't. Sabbath is Ozzy, and that's it.
well, you know, I'm honestly not even a Dio fan. Like, you give him more credit than I do, even saying he's a badass. I was gonna say, you put Dio next to Ozzy. It's like, stand them next to each other in a room. Like, I'm not looking at Dio for 1 single second. I'm not looking
Right.
at Ozzy.
Well, I'm not so much comparing him. I think that Dio's solo career was great.
Yeah.
I think that he's a great solo artist. I mean, I got into a lot of his solo stuff, but yeah, you can't compare the two. But yeah, Sabbath is definitely Ozzy's child, and that's where it ends. Um, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Iron Man.
I think that song's boring as shit, dude.
Okay,
It's
cool.
my least favorite song of his. And dude, I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna get heat from it. Crazy Train, maybe because it's so fucking overplayed. And I know that like I respect the instrumentals on there more than the vocals. It's just like I'd rather listen to the deep cuts, dude. So you got,
Yeah.
I mean, Diary of a Madman's phenomenal.
I do love Shot in the Dark.
Shot in the Dark. Osmosis is a phenomenal album. No More Tears is a phenomenal album. I mean, Blizzard of Oz is great, but not my favorite. Um, fuck, what else? I mean, he's got so many different like greatest hit mixes that are great. I mean, everything is. I love the deep cuts on Ozzy, especially that Osmosis album is overlooked, and it has so many good deep cuts. It's. I remember listening to that in my Walkman, like walking home from school, like from beginning to end. Great album. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I do love Shot in the Dark. That is a good the chorus is really good. I love the story of him. He's like the first guy to really take Motley Crue out on tour. He was kind of like the launch of their career, is what they always say. He was the first guy to really take a chance on them. Nikki Sixx just posted this Instagram story about how when he was living in Hidden Hills, Los Angeles, he called it, his daughter, uh, it wasn't a lemonade stand. She made a duct tape wallet booth on the side of like the street in the neighborhood, where she was selling these like homemade duct tape wallets. And Nikki said, he saw this car rolling up and he heard somebody yell, "Hey, Nikki!" And he looked and it's Ozzy yelling out the window of the car. And he said before the car even stopped, Ozzy jumped out of the car and came up to his daughter and said, "I'll buy all of those," and bought all of her duct tape wallets and gave her all his cash and stuff like
That's
that. I
cool.
I like stories like that. Those are always hilarious to me. Um, what was I gonna get to? We had to do our first exposures with Ozzy. Um, I don't know, what were we talking about? There was the young blood thing that I'm not a fan of. I don't know. I don't want to start off with like things that Ozzy said that I'm not a fan of. Did you ever watch Meet the Osbournes?
Yeah, of course. That was like, I mean, everybody watched that shit. Like that was so early in reality TV era that I feel like everybody watched that. I so I always say I liked his kids when they were fat instead of now when
Yeah,
they're like, these fucking Ozempic face, like, like Kelly's like prim and proper, like, bitch, you were fucking, stealing your dad's fucking jug of wine under the sink on the show, like doing all this crazy shit. And I know they were young, but I just
yeah.
feel like they're not as like real as they used to be. I mean, maybe it was just a facade for the show, but yeah, I've seen it many times, and I feel like Ozzy was like way more hard to understand on that show. I don't know if they did that on purpose.
I think he was fucked up back then. I think
Yeah.
I
My
think I've
fucking
heard.
biz. Who's got my biz?
Yeah. I think I've heard people stories from like hearing like seeing clips that he was pretty fucked up back then. He was drinking, he was probably taking painkillers or something. And I think they've all come out and said they should have never done that. I know Sharon's come out and said she's like we should have never signed up. We were in no place to be
Yeah, I
bringing
wonder
cameras.
why they did that. They didn't need the money.
Yeah, I think you probably just are a celebrity and someone comes over and says, "Hey, MTV, we'll give you a couple $1,000,000, bring some cameras in the house." You probably just like, "Yeah, fuck it. There's been cameras in my life the whole time anyways. I'll
Right.
take 5 more $1,000,000." I would
Do you remember
imagine
the dogs? The
it's
dogs
like a
shitting everywhere.
yeah, the dogs. Like a business deal like that. That's legendary because when Kelly Osbourne was a little chubby girl, she dated Burt McCracken from The Used, which is my favorite band of all time, and Burt was in an episode of Meet the Osbournes because of that. And The Used was mad about this. I guess they had an agreement with the Osbournes that they weren't gonna The Used didn't wanna get any, like, fame and notoriety from Burt dating Kelly. They wanted to be like, "Hey, we're musicians. We're not reality TV stars," and but the Osbournes apparently did not, like, honor that agreement. They put him on, the show when Kelly brought Burt over. And it wasn't even a lot. It was like Bert was in that episode for like a couple of seconds, which was weird because it was like the whole theme of the episode. It's called Beauty and the Burt, and it's all about how Sharon's like making fun of Kelly for dating a rock star, and Jack is like, yeah, Kelly's just like her mom. She dates guys that sing in bands, and but yeah, that was like a weird era, but a fun era. I mean, that is technically my first exposure to Ozzy Osbourne because I was a kid when that was happening. I was in 6th grade in 2006, and the Osbournes, Meet the Osbournes is like around that era. So
Yeah,
I
we didn't
really
really have
first knew them as
YouTube.
just reality TV stars.
We didn't really have YouTube or anything at that time. Like, at least access to it like we do now.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
like where we could just look up what a celebrity's like in their own time. Like now you could be like, what does Rod Stewart do on his days off? I don't fucking know. And there'd be like a fucking whole thing on like his like daily routine. Then like you said, you're only exposed to what you saw on TV for celebrities, I feel like, or whatever.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. I just knew that he was a reality TV guy. And he's got long hair, and I can't understand what he's saying at all. It's funny how Ozzy always got into these positions of talking, like reality TV star. Then they did a podcast recently with the family. I'm like, why is Ozzy always being put into positions where he's talking? Because I cannot understand a word this guy's saying ever.
So how, as far as his sobriety, how long has he been sober? That's something you got to look up because I mean, I know he's been involved with drugs his whole life, but I mean, most of his life. But she got him clean and all this shit. I remember listening to him on Howard Stern, how he went to Betty Ford and stuff, and he thought there was a bar there, but there's no bar at fucking treatment center.
If you Google it, it says in 2006, Ozzy was able to achieve a sustained period of sobriety, only experiencing a few momentary relapse before achieving full sobriety from 2013 onwards.
So what the fuck does that mean? From 6 to 13, he was getting fucked up.
That's what I would assume. It sounds like from 2006 to 2013, they say momentary relapses. Who knows what that means? But then they say from 2013 onward, he was sober.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, especially being him.
I just saw a clip today saying that when he got his Parkinson's diagnosis, he was getting prescribed painkillers, which I wouldn't count that as you're fucking 70, you got
Uh,
Parkinson's, take your painkillers, that's fine. But the clip was saying that he chose not to take them for his last show because they kind of slowed him down, and So it sounds like he could have been hurting in that chair when he was singing, but
He looked like he wanted to stand up, but he
there
kept
was a part where people speculate it looks like he was trying to stand up and obviously he couldn't make it happen. But yeah, that last show, I would say the same thing. He sounded, my grandpa's not even 76 and he couldn't sing like that.
right.
Yeah,
Also,
of course, obviously, he doesn't sound like he sounded in fucking 1970. You can't expect him to. But and I hate that some people. I feel like some people. I don't know. People are weird about that. If you make comments like that, people will get mad at you. They'll be like, "No, he sounded just as good as he sounded in 1970." It's like, bro, no, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm not saying anything bad about him. I'm praising the guy. He still sounds fantastic given the circumstances. I'm just being honest and saying, no, of course he doesn't sound like he sounds in 1970. I'd never expected him to, but he sounded awesome for a dude who was 76. With Parkinson's, sitting in a fucking throne. Basically, I think he sounded great for that age.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, Ric Flair is next. Ric Flair has to be next on the list. We just lost that guy from the who died yesterday? The guy from the Cosby Show, the son.
Wait, the son from the Cosby Show, the young guy?
Theo, what's his name? Theo in the show?
Yeah. Yeah. How did he
Yeah,
die?
he just died yesterday. I feel
What?
like he didn't he? I don't know. He drowned or some shit. Ric Flair's been shitting his pants at Florida. Yeah, Ric Flair's got to go soon.
He's a douchebag.
What's the guy's name? Uh, What's it? No, I don't want his Malcolm Jamal Warner. Yeah, he died yesterday. It was, let's see, cause of death released by police. Yeah, he was swimming with his 8-year-old daughter on Sunday
Oh
when
my god.
surfers spotted them struggling and dove in to help. A surfer used his board to bring Warner's daughter to safety, and it looks like, yeah, he drowned. Yeah.
That's horrible.
So yeah, it's crazy. They always say celebrities die in threes.
Yeah, what the fuck is that's horrible, dude.
So yeah, we lost.
He
We
got
lost.
caught in a rip curls or rip tide.
Yeah, yeah, basically. But yeah, literally.
Horrible.
Theo Huxtable yesterday. Ozzy Osbourne today. So tomorrow, if it's not Ric Flair, dude, I'll be damned.
Right. Yeah, well, I wish it was Ric Flair instead of Theo Huxtable. Like it's like the people that I feel like are not like I don't know. Like Ric Flair's a shitbag. Like yeah, he's super talented wrestler, but he's like a fucking cocky asshole.
He is a
Yeah,
shitbag. I got a soft
those
spot just because I love pro wrestling. I got a soft spot, but he is a total shitbag.
right, like he'll live forever.
Eddie Van Halen a few years ago. Ozzy another. Yeah, when was Eddie Van Halen? That was fairly.
So that was a little whiles ago.
Let me check out Eddie Van Halen now too. But
Yeah,
I'm
dude,
telling you,
we're losing all good artists. Like all the artists of like the best era of music, like they're all just dying off. I mean, Robert Plant looks like shit. The lead singer from the Scorpions, I was just looking at him. He looks like shit. I mean, Mick Jagger's been looking like shit. uh, everybody's getting old.
2020. Eddie Van Halen died in 2020. So yeah, a while ago, but fairly recently in the grand scheme. But the thing about like I was saying last time when I talked about Ozzy's last show, we're not replacing these guys. Like we're not
Wait,
get
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Proto Max, to what you said, every time I look at the guy at the bars and stuff, he's like harassing women and talking shit to guys. Like, is that his character? Like
that's
at the
Ric Flair.
bar? I mean,
That's Ric Flair being Ric Flair. But yeah, no, we're not replacing these guys. That's the bummer. And I'll get to that. I don't care what Ozzy says. Youngblood is not a replacement for Ozzy Osbourne. He's not. Like, I'm sorry. Ozzy might like Youngblood. That's fine. He might have liked him a lot as a person. He might have gotten along with him just fine. They probably had a lot in common. But I don't care. That's not a replacement for Ozzy Osbourne.
I agree.
We're not replacing
There
any of
never
these guys.
will be.
When I
There
posted
never
that
will be.
clip on TikTok where I made the joke about how there's the declining birth rate in America, and I said we also have a declining birth rate in our rock and roll world. Somebody tried to argue in my TikTok comments. They said, no, that's not true. They were one of those optimistic guys that said, no, metal and rock and roll are still alive and well today. You just have to look for it. I'm like, okay, but you're proving my point because back then you didn't have to look for it. You went to the store and there was a poster with Black Sabbath on it. You turned on your TV and there were the Cars. You turned on the radio and there was, Nirvana, But guess what? When you turn on the radio today, it's still Metallica. It's still Megadeth. It's still Ozzy. What this kid
But
was saying was he tried to point out streaming numbers. He was like, yeah, the streaming numbers on Spotify, all the bands today have way more streams than the bands like Metallica and Megadeth. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about streaming numbers. I'm talking about culture. I'm talking about if you walk into Walmart right now and you find 10 middle-aged moms or even 30-year-old moms and you say, hey, who is Metallica and who is Ghost? Or I don't know, or who is, Sleep Token is one of the bands this kid mentioned, or, the moms are going to know who Metallica is, and they're not going to know who these modern day bands are. I don't care about stream numbers. I don't care about the niche numbers on Spotify. All the metalheads are listening to, this current day metalcore music or whatever. I don't care about falling in reverse of streaming numbers. Like, I don't care about that. I'm talking about culture.
sound like shit too. Their fucking music sounds like shit. To be the man, you gotta harass women.
Ric
Woo!
Flair. Yeah, no, we're not, there is no new Eddie Van Halen. There is no new
There
Ozzy.
never will be. Dude, like you said, think about you could have threw a rock in any direction in that, in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s even, and hit a fucking, great sounding musician that like, that was the best time for music. And what happened? I don't know. Did we just lose our creativity or just people fucking get lazier? I don't know what happened.
I think something happened. I don't know what it is. I've recently decided that I really do think, after all my time being obsessed with the 60s and then the 70s and then the 80s and being obsessed with the 90s when I was younger, I really do think the 80s was like the peak of American creativity. You know, we had Metallica, Megadeth, Ozzy doing his solo stuff. We had Back to the Future coming in theaters. We had the Star Wars movies in the 80s. We had Indiana Jones coming out, Blade Runner, all the horror movies. I really do think in general, like the 80s was just peak for American creativity. I think in the 90s, things were also creative, but I think the 90s is when things started kind of getting depressing. I mean, honestly, as much as I love Nirvana and Alice in Chains, I mean, dude, you watch a Poison music video and then you go listen to Nirvana and you're just like, what made everybody so fucking depressed? Like, what happened? Like, Vince Neil has this really funny quote in the documentary where Vince Neil hates grunge. He was like, I never understood it. He said Motley Crue, you wanted to entertain people and give you a break from real life. But then Nirvana came along and they were singing about how their life is all fucked up. And Vince was like, all of our lives are fucked up. We already know that. I don't want to sing about that too. I'm trying to distract the kids from that. But yeah, something happened after the 80s, I think, where just, you know, things started going downhill. I don't know, maybe they put something in the water that killed people's creativity. I have no idea.
It's the same thing with movies, dude. The movies suck. It's it's beat. It's depressing. I find myself immersing myself in that culture in that era. Like I surround myself with everything that's 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and like I don't even want to know anything else because I know that it's just a letdown. I don't even go to the movies anymore because every time I go to see a new movie, it's trash.
Yeah, or it's just like the 17th remake of something or the 14th sequel of something from the 80s. That's
Right.
the thing about movies. They're just redoing all the stuff from the 80s. I think it's funny. So I'm friends with these girls on Facebook, all these, these like modern day like wannabe feminist girls that are super hipster girls basically. I posted something just kind of funny about I made a joke about, Ozzy's a legend, but that doesn't mean I take him seriously when he says everything. And so I said I think it's a bad choice for him to endorse Youngblood as the next Ozzy Osbourne. And this girl who I've never heard talk about Ozzy before a day in his life until today, of course, she gets on my comments and she's like, "Oh, Youngblood is a great musician who's on the right side of human rights, and this is a bad take." And she deleted her comment, by the way. I punked the shit out of her. I commented back and I just said, musicians. I was like, "Oh, well, musicianship is subjective. Like, you might like his shit, but myself as a actual musician, right? Because that was one of the things I threw in her face was that you're not a musician though, so you don't actually know anything about musicianship and blah blah blah. I can't even pull up the comment to tell you how I punked her because she deleted her comment. Which, okay, if you start a comment battle in my comment section and then you delete your comment, I'm gonna take that as a
The win.
I think I punked you. It's different if you delete your own comment. I think people should be allowed to delete their own comments. Or no, I think people should be allowed to delete comments in their own comment sections because I kind of see your pages as like your front yard, like my Facebook page and my Instagram page and my TikTok. That's my front yard. I'm allowed to decorate it how I want to decorate it. If you come along and you comment some gay shit, I don't want people seeing that gay shit in my comments. I'm going to delete it. But if you come into my front yard and you say some shit and then you pull that shit back out, that means you lost. So, I must have punked her. I don't know how. I wasn't even actually going hard on it, but I was just saying, no, I don't think Ozzy endorsing Youngblood. Like, she's taking this very seriously. Like, she's like, yeah, Youngblood is gonna carry the torch. She just likes Youngblood because he's like hip and trendy and he's into all this social commentary and social justice stuff that she's into. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of silly. Like I said, I'm sure Ozzy likes the guy personally. I'm sure he to me, the proof is going to be in 50 years. Are we going to get, we just saw this whole big festival. Ozzy Osbourne's last show is the record breaking. It's the biggest, like the most profitable show for charity now in history. Like it's set that record. So in 50 years, is Youngblood going to have a final show that breaks that record? I'll bet you all my money that's not going to happen.
No, and I don't think he's going to make the same type of music. I mean, they're totally two different artists. You think this guy's going to come out and start making fucking hardcore fucking, um, The Big Lebowski's a great movie, by the way. But yeah, no, he's not even making the same kind of music.
Yeah. Well, even if he wasn't, I don't even if he wasn't, I think anybody can be rock and roll. Like I kind of jokingly will say like there are pop songs. Like I'll tell you some Sabrina Carpenter songs are to me rock and roll is just anything that kind of makes you move your head up and down involuntarily. So even if Youngblood isn't making heavy metal, I don't really care. It's just in general, he's just not like nothing about his personality or nothing about what he brings to the music world is anything Ozzy
It's
Osbourne-ish.
special.
Yeah, he's just another one of the trending TikTok guys, and he'll be long gone in 50 years, basically. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Ozzy's gonna live forever, Youngblood's not. So I'm not taking that too seriously when Ozzy says that he endorses Youngblood as the next him. I think dude, just because people are legends doesn't mean they don't say dumb shit sometimes. Like, dude, all our favorite rock stars have said dumb shit. Like Phil Anselmo from Pantera yelled "White Power" after a show one time. Obviously, it was a joke, but the point is that you don't just because a rock star, a legend says something, doesn't mean you have to be like, oh yeah, that's the fucking truth. Like Youngblood is carrying the torch.
Yeah, I seen that. I remember when he did that shit. He had
That's
like
hilarious. And people are still mad. Pantera. I love Pantera, real Pantera fans, because like you'll go on Instagram if you see like a reel of like a Pantera clip and it's Dimebag with the Confederate guitar. Oh, no one cares. Everyone's just saying like, yeah, fuck yeah, rock and roll, Dimebag. There'll be like one guy who's like, is that a Confederate flag guitar? That's not cool. And all the Pantera fans will just jump on him. And they're like, bro, you don't know anything about fucking Dimebag. Like, shut up. You're just trying to play. So I like the Pantera fans because they're not, they're not gay. They don't give a fuck about.
I love Pantera. I have Pantera sticker on my truck.
Oh, Pantera's fucking awesome, dude. That
One of the
guitar
best metal
tone.
bands of all time.
Oh yeah. Dimebag's guitar tone. Dude, some people hate on it because it's super gainy, super distortion, but it just sounds like a fucking
I love the
machine.
distorted, the screaming, the fucking
Yeah.
the whammy bar, the obnoxious fucking, high pitched. I love that, dude. I mean, they talk about getting back to guys that could party and still fucking function. Those dudes party, dude. Hard.
Oh yeah, definitely. Your friend's punk band would be a lot cooler if they didn't look like they got done hanging out at Starbucks. Pantera. Oh yeah, and Pantera being in the Brawly Dragon Ball Z movie is like the coolest shit ever. Yeah, Pantera is like when I look back on like like the bands of history. Like Pantera is like I would say like if not top 10, like top 5 90s bands to me. I mean they flew the flag for metal in the 90s. Metal pretty much died out after the 80s, I would say, for the most part. Of course there were some bands, but I mean Metallica was doing their load and reload stuff, which I like, but a lot of people don't. But Pantera was really flying that flag. It was cool that Pantera was the Ozzy's last show. Or,
I
today's
saw them. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just say, or today's iteration of Pantera, which I approve of. I'm down with Zach Wild filling in for
Yeah,
Dimebag.
that's what I was gonna say. I saw them. Obviously, I couldn't see the real lineup, but I saw them a year and a half ago in Atlanta with Zach Wild, obviously, and dude, they sounded great. I mean, obviously, it wasn't the actual Pantera full Dimebag Daryl, but they sounded really fucking good, dude. They killed it.
Yeah, yeah. Some people really do hate on that. They're like, oh, it's not Pantera. Like Dimebag would have never liked. I'm like, dude. First of all, Dimebag and Zach Wild were like best friends. I think Dimebag would have totally been cool with it. And two, Zach Wild is perfectly honest about it. He's like, I know it's not Pantera. I'm here paying tribute to my friend. I'm playing the stuff the
There's
best way I can.
not many other people could fill that slot even to tribute. You know what I mean? Like that's not an easy thing to even try to copy. Like there's a reason why they waited so long to do that. You know what I mean? Like there's not many people that could even copy Dimebag even in like even as like a tribute type thing. Like it's hard to copy what his style. But they were great. That was a great concert. I actually got so drunk I fucking lost my friends and they had to like like I live 3 hours from Atlanta. I have nowhere out where I'm at. I'm like calling, I'm like, where did we park? And they're like, dude, we're in the car. We're ready to go. Where the fuck are you? I'm like talking to some random fucking group of people. Like I get all social when I'm drunk. So I'm like talking to everybody. They're like, stand by this red light pole and wait there. Don't move. But
That is hilarious,
yeah, they were good though.
dude. I guess I guess I was gonna get into. You see this every time. You see this every time anybody big dies. I was gonna complain about like these hipster girls now posting
Right.
about Ozzy Osbourne, girls that I've never seen say a word about Ozzy in their lives. And like I said, they go back and forth. Yes, Ozzy deserves a post on every social media page in the world. The people that are like genuinely just discovering him, like I said, if there's a 15-year-old out there today who is just discovering Ozzy today for the first time because of all the posts that are going on, that's awesome. I hope that 15-year-old goes down a whole fucking rabbit hole and gets real hyped on Black Sabbath and all that. I think maybe it's anecdotal because I know I'm referring to specific girls that I know or that I know online, and it's just these fucking trendy girls that are only taking a break from posting about Donald Trump to now post about Ozzy Osbourne. It's like, dude, like I've never heard you say a word about anything other than Chapel Roan and Donald Trump. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, now all of a sudden Ozzy Osbourne is just iconic to you. Like, never heard you say a word about any music that actually has a guitar even in it. Now all of a sudden you're a big Ozzy fan. You're a bit, it happens all the time when any music, any big famous musician dies, you get like bandwagon people, right? It's I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to say it without sounding like gatekeeper or like negative or complaining about it or whatever, but it is totally true. I think there definitely are people out there that just see this, it's a trending topic, and they're just like, yeah, I'm gonna post about this. And it's like, bro, like you don't care about this shit. Like you don't listen to you don't listen to this stuff.
I think more people agree with you than you realize. I see it all the time. It'd be like even an actor. It'd be like, fucking I don't know whoever. It'd be like random fucking actor. George Clooney died. Like I was such a huge fan of his movies. Like I didn't see you ever fucking post or talk about movies or anything about like that. Same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of people are posers just to try to look cool. I guess. Like I was telling you, I was loving Black Sabbath and Ozzy and all that shit before it was even cool. Like as a millennial or whatever Gen X or whatever the fuck we are, like people like, oh, we don't listen to that. Listen to fucking Sum 41. You don't listen to fucking Blink 180, or you don't listen to Black Sabbath. Like, dude, I was listening to that shit before it was even cool to. And then you get these people that are like, like you said, like acting like they're so upset. It's interesting.
Yeah, like I said, when I was in high school, we made fun of people that listened to Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. We called it butt rock when I was in high school. If, I had to like decline or deny my old, because when I was super young, like I said, I kind of got into AC/DC and Guns N' Roses. Then I hit high school and I had to completely deny my old self because my now cool friends didn't like butt rock. So I said, nope, fuck all that butt rock shit. And then I got older, I didn't care anymore. Now I'm totally, head first, have dove into like rock and roll and heavy metal in general. Yeah, you just see it all the time when any like celebrity dies, any celebrity or any actor. Now all of a sudden everybody's a huge fan of this actor, and it's like, and I understand that just because you never posted about it might not mean you didn't actually listen to this guy in your spare time. But like I said, in my case, like I know these fucking girls that I'm talking about. Like I can tell you for a fact that they did not listen to Ozzy Osbourne. They were just listening to Charlie XCX yesterday. They've spent all day posting about politics and posting about their TikTok opinions and posting about whatever. The funny thing is these girls that I'm talking about, if I got in their comments and said, "Hey, have you ever heard about how Ozzy treated women in the 70s? Like, can I tell you some stories that I've heard, from reading books and like actually watching documentaries about Ozzy Osbourne?" I guarantee you these girls would immediately turn away from it and be like, "Oh, no, that's not true," or "I can't believe, it's annoying, the bandwagon stuff." The biggest example is like Golden State Warriors back when they were going on their run. There's like hilarious clips you can find, or like edits of people when there was like a huge bandwagon culture around the Golden State Warriors. There were guys that would go do street interviews and be like, "Yeah, what do you think about the Golden State Warriors trading away Abraham Washington? What do you think about that?" And these guys would go, "Oh, I think that's a bad call. They should have kept him, man. I'm a big Warriors fan. They should have kept Abraham Washington." And I feel like that's like I could go into these girls' comments and be like, "Yeah, what do you think about Ozzy Osbourne's song, like Electric Boogaloo Part 2?" And they'd be like, "Oh, that's my favorite song. I love that
Electric
song."
Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's all my life. I was always like myself, even if nobody liked it. You know what I mean? Like I liked what I liked because I thought it was cool, not to be cool. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's so many people that are just doing it for the wrong reasons, like whether it be music or any kind of popular culture. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this because it makes me look cool." Like, nah, dude. Like I was fucking into cheesy 80s X-rated horror movies before people even thought that was like cool to do. Now it's like a cliche, like a cult of people that do that shit. But yeah, man, I guess the moral of the story is just be true to yourself and be true to what you like. Don't be a fucking poser.
Yeah, if you don't like Ozzy, it's fine.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
I was honest when I said the last time, a couple weeks ago, when I talked about Ozzy's last show. I'm not as big a fan as Black Sabbath as like a lot of people usually assume that I am. Like when it comes to 70s rock and roll, like I've always preferred like the Eagles and Joe Walsh and kind of stuff like that. I do like Black Sabbath. Like I just in Master of Realities, I think is a great album. Children of the Grave being my favorite song. I do love Paranoid. I know that's one of the cliche answers, but Paranoid is a great rock. There's a reason that song is so big because it's a great song. War Pigs is like an incredible jam session song. And just Ozzy as a character in general. I love the oh, excuse me. I love the characters of rock and roll. And I know I keep saying rock and roll, but I do credit Black Sabbath as being the inventors of heavy metal. I know that's kind of a debate. Some people will say Led Zeppelin created metal. Uh, I don't think so. I think Led Zeppelin were more hard rock. I think Black Sabbath created metal. I think there's an argument that Helter Skelter by the Beatles maybe was the first metal song. I can see that. But I think when it comes to the band that actually created the genre of metal, dude, it's Black Sabbath. I love that video of them playing with the rainbow in the background. And it's like, dude, Black Sabbath was playing metal before metal aesthetics were even a thing. So they had to play in front of rainbows and shit because they were in the hippie era. They were coming up in the hippie era, the leftover hippie era of the early 70s. In the country rock era, with like Leonard Skinner, and they were playing fucking metal. Like they were weird in the early 70s. Like they were like a weird kind of like a doom acid trip. Like if you wanted to have a bad acid trip, you could listen to Black Sabbath, and you might go to hell for a little bit. You know.
Dude, it's funny you said like that argument with Led Zeppelin and like being like the inventors of metal. I don't even put them in the metal category. Like even in the early days, I've seen people say that Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath are fucking apples and oranges completely. Case in point, Black Sabbath's first album, first song on the album is the song Black Sabbath,
Yeah.
and when I heard that as a fucking teenager, dude, and you know, mid, you know, 14 years old, dude, that shit terrified me. It was literally, you don't know who this person is, but they're clearly in hell, and they're burning in hell, and they're suffering for it, and they're screaming for God. And I mean, Ozzy's voice, just the oh no, like
Yeah.
that, like was like crazy to me. That's metal to me. That's metal, not, you know, Robert Plant singing Dazed and Confused. That's more bluesy. That's more, you know, blues rhythm, like rock. I can't even compare the two. So yeah.
The only argument I could understand, and it's only one song, you know, is "Immigrant Song" by Led Zeppelin. That
That's a hard
song
song. That's a
that
hard song.
that song borders on metal, I guess. Like, but to me, Led Zeppelin, the most you could call them is hard rock, right? As a band, they're
Right.
hard rock with a lot of blues influence. Black Sabbath gets so metal that I don't even see the blues influence, honestly. I know that you could probably attribute some blues in there, but again, I'll mention "Children of the Grave" just because it's my favorite song. Like, somebody explain to me the blues in "Children of the Grave" because that song is heavy as fuck. Like,
There's no real blues influence. I mean, if you want to like be one of those guys to like nitpick it, maybe Ozzy's influence of the harmonica and some things. Yeah, because he plays the harmonica. Think fairies wear boots or a couple different ones.
he does in
Like
"The Wizard," I think.
the Wizard, that's a great fucking song, dude.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are so like mysterious and fucking crazy and just I mean, yeah, they're metal gods, dude. And yeah, they're just metal gods. Amazing. Amazing. Instrumentals, amazing vocals. There'll never be another Black Sabbath as long as we live. There'll never be another Ozzy Osbourne as long as we live. He had such a unique voice. And it's funny because like people say like, oh, his voice sucks. Like, no, it doesn't suck. But is it great? No. But is it fucking it's Ozzy. You know when you hear Ozzy, it's Ozzy. It's not phenomenal, it's not fucking terrible. It's pretty good, but you know that it works for his kind of music, if that makes sense. It just works for the instrumentals that are behind him. It just I don't know how to explain it. It just works.
I would just say, obviously, he's no Freddie Mercury, but you don't need same with
Exactly.
and I would say same with obviously, Ozzy is, like, a way better technical singer than Rob Zombie even. But, yeah, no, Ozzy's not he's not Axl Rose, he's not, Freddie Mercury, but he's got his voice is unique, there's
Unique.
character,
Yep.
it's
It's
unique.
totally unique.
It's his own character, it's Ozzy, it fits perfectly well what he needs it for. He's more of a I don't wanna say, like, a character singer because he actually is a pretty good singer for, um, for what he sings over, but yeah, no, that's basically he's not Freddie Mercury, but he doesn't fucking need to be at all, he did his own thing.
Right.
I always loved his appreciation for the Beatles.
Yeah, he met Paul McCartney and he was like, you're my favorite Beatle, man. You fucking reason why I'm doing it." And Paul McCartney's like, "Yeah, cool, man."
And
It's just
Paul's like,
funny.
"Who is this fucking madman in
Yeah,
here?"
yeah, yeah. What's he fucking doing these days? I mean, I know he's still making music, but
Paul
I
McCartney?
mean, yeah, I mean, shit. I mean,
I don't
him and Ringo are the only ones left.
I don't think he's been up to anything, too much lately, like, if you look him up, there's nothing in the
I mean,
news.
I'm a big Wings fan. I like his solo stuff. Um,
One of the craziest things to me, this is kinda like, I knew that times we were living in were different, ever since, like, 2016 is kinda when I consider, like, when we kinda went off the deep end. But when Paul and Ringo released Now and Then in 2023, when they used, so Now and Then is a song that John Lennon wrote in the '70s that he just never used, and he recorded it. He never used it. They took the song, and I guess they used a bunch of AI and technology to kinda just enhance. Like, it really is John Lennon recorded, but they just kind of enhanced his voice to fit in with the modern recording that they recorded around the song. But they released it as the Beatles, like, and it is a really good song, but, like, the Beatles released a song in 2023, and, like, solidifying factor to me when I knew that we were just, like, not in the world that I wanna be living in, was when the Beatles released a song in 2023, and it just kinda came and went, it wasn't this big ordeal that, like, if we were living in the world that I wish we were living in, this would have like we'd still be talking about this today. We'd be like, "Holy shit, the Beatles actually released a song in 2023." This should have won all the awards, should have been all over TV, should have been but no, it wasn't. Some people, Beatles fans were excited about it, and that was really it. It just it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, to me it was. I was like, dude, this is the greatest band of all time. Just released a song
Right.
in fucking 2023. No, it wasn't prime Beatles, of course not. But yeah, it was a great song. It was a little ballad that John Lennon wrote in the 70s. Which is always funny to me to think that John Lennon was kicking around in the 70s. I know that's when all of his solo stuff is, but it's funny to think like the Cars were kicking at the same time that John Lennon was kicking. Those weird little like time things mess me up. Like Green Day was kicking at the same time Nirvana was kicking. That always throws me off. You know, um,
Fucking hate Green
Poison.
Day.
What?
I hate everything Green Day. Everything Green Day ever produced is fucking trash to me.
I like some of their stuff. I was really big on them when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I think all of their politics stuff is goofy. Even all the there's some decent songs on American Idiot. When I was a kid, that was like my Bible. I thought American Idiot was the greatest thing of all time. Now, now as an adult, I'm like, it's funny, when I was a kid, I got American Idiot, and I'm like, "This is so cool, they're anti-government, they're anti-authority." Now I'm 31, I'm like, "They're not anti-authority, they're just Democrats." Like, that's all it
Right.
is. They're not actually anti-government, they just have a side they like, which, like, "Oh, you guys lied to me. You guys made me think you were, like, just anti-authority in general." But no, you're not, you just like one particular authority over the other.
What about fucking speaking of that, what about Rage Against the Machine? Like they've become the machine. Like I think that's the
Yeah.
funniest part is like I thought they were so badass. They were like so like, you know, fight the power, like we're not gonna fucking charge. We would never charge $160 for a lawn seat to a concert. Like we're not those kind of people. And then here we are 2 years later, like them talking about that and they're charging $300 for a lawn seat. You know what I mean? Like they're just shitty. I don't
There's
know.
a great video. I might have to send it to you. Let me if I can find the channel. I saw a video and it was basically like I think it's called "Why Your Favorite Band Sucks" or "Why This Band Sucks," and they just do a bunch of like okay, yeah, it's gotta be this channel. There's a channel that's just called "Your Favorite Band Sucks." There's a video of David Bowie sucks, Frank Sinatra sucks, going down the list. They just rip on everything. Pearl Jam sucks. I do hate Pearl Jam. I know you
But
like
what
Pearl
is?
Jam.
I love Pearl Jam. That's fucking blasphemy. It's fucking great.
Oh, no, I can't stand Pearl Jam. But,
Well,
they they
what about them sucks? Like about all the bands that they're mentioning. Like what is their?
well, I've only watched one video, but they did a video on Rage Against the Machine. And, actually, it might not be this channel, I'll have to find it, but there was this great video by this channel, and it was just why Rage Against the Machine sucks, and it was actually, like, a decently long video, and they were like, "Dude, even back in the day, they were on a major label, like, they were signed to a major label. They've never really." The thing is, if Rage Against the Machine was ever real about their message, they would have never signed to a label. They would have done it all independent. They would have because that was always possible, as much as there was a machine back in the day that was set in place. Nowadays it's obviously a lot easier to be independent with the internet, but you still could have been independent back then. There were plenty of bands back then that were on small labels that got big or did it on their own. Yeah, no, Rage Against the Machine's always been part of the machine. I think they were just kind of better at it back then. Nowadays, they just are like, you know what, fuck it, let's not even pretend anymore.
Yeah,
We're full
yeah.
blown Democrats and socialists. Like, we're not anti-authority. There's just one authority that we like. That's to me what is like the most heartbreaking thing is there's these guys you grow up liking. You're like, yeah, they're anti-authority, and then you get older and you're like, oh no, they're not. They just like one particular authority. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty shitty. I mean,
And it's yeah, no, and it's super goofy. They're doing all this. they're doing all this stuff. Their tickets are fucking expensive. And yeah, no, it's just part of the heartbreaking thing about getting older. To me, that's kind of been one of the worst things about the internet now. It's just that with Twitter, now your favorite celebrities are just constantly tweeting and you're just hearing all of their retarded thoughts in real time. Whereas back then, we've talked about this. You didn't know shit about Robert Plant.
Mm.
And it kind of led to this mysterious, he had aura, right? He was cool. He was mysterious. I know I always say super cynically, and it pains me to say it, but we're lucky that Kurt Cobain died because we don't have to see Kurt Cobain on Twitter. We don't have to see Kurt Cobain, opening up for Bruce Springsteen at the Kamala Harris rally. Like, thank God we don't have to see that.
It's
Or
so true.
who knows? Maybe Kurt opens up for the Trump rally. I don't think that would have happened, but who knows? Like, but I wouldn't want to see either, is what I'm saying. Like, I like
Okay.
Kurt Cobain as he is.
Maybe they died in their right time, and I think when I was watching a Neil Young interview, they were like, "What does it mean to? It's better to burn out than to fade away."
Mhm.
And he said that he's like he's like Kurt Cobain, fucking uh, the singer of the Doors, fucking all those guys, like they died in their own time and they were at their peak. Like they died and that's what people wanted to remember them by. It's better to burn out than actually fade away. And I was like, damn, he's right. Like Janis Joplin, like all those fucking people that were like at their peak. Like imagine seeing them today with the ridiculousness that our world is. Maybe they died in their right time, as much
Yeah.
as it sucked.
It's super sad. Of course, I would, realistically, as a human, of course, I would have preferred Kurt lived and be alive
Right.
today. And I would prefer he be alive and fat and cheesy and be doing all this gay shit on Twitter and take care of his daughter. But in the selfish rock and roll way, it's perfect the way it happened. Like
Right.
he died in his era. And on a way lighter scale, it happens to movies too. Like the Friday the 13th movie should have never left the 80s. Once we hit the 90s, those movies went straight downhill. Texas Chainsaw Massacre should have never left. I would say the 70s, but I love the part two came out in 86, and that is a great movie. So maybe that should have never left the 80s too. But yeah, just a lot of art just exists in a really good time. I guess to tie it all back to Ozzy was kind of good he transcended that. Like he did Black Sabbath in the 70s, and then his solo shit was pretty good in the 80s. He kind of, he teased his hair in the 80s and he pulled it
Yes.
off really well.
Yes.
Some people would argue he dropped off after that, but like I said, I loved I Don't Want to Stop in like 2006 and 7. Like, so I even think he did really well in that era. Some
He
people
fit.
can.
He
Some
fit
people
those errors.
Yeah, some people can transcend their own era, it seems like. They are bigger than, um, their particular era. One of the things that's crazy about, like, the Beatles, even the Beatles being the greatest band of all time, they could not have even that they did not transcend the '60s. They are very of the '60s. John Lennon's solo stuff came out in the '70s, which I like John Lennon's stuff a lot, maybe even as much as I like the Beatles, honestly, but yeah, I don't know. Some people just can't make it out of their era. They either shouldn't or they didn't do it very well. Yeah, Ozzy did it really well. He was pretty cool in the '80s.
Yeah,
Um,
he really did. Like he played every era the way he was supposed to play it. Like you said, he did the big hair, the teasing, fucking shit. Then he did like the white like suit with the ponytail and shit. And then he did like he fit all those different eras. And who kind of played that in their own way too is Marilyn Manson, I guess, but on his own terms. Like each album had a different, like mechanical animals. He was like the androgynous, like woman cross dresser. Then he had, whatever else, and then he was dressed completely different. And they kind of played all those different, time periods. Were pretty cool.
yeah, Marilyn Manson, I think is a good example because he went into the 2000s, and I think even on like the Eat Me, Drink Me album in 2007, I like that stuff too. Um, I wish I would have saved it for this. There was this great clip of Ozzy on the Howard Stern show, of course, like prime stuff. It was him and Sharon. It might have been skinny Sharon by the time this was happening. I forget if it was fat Sharon or skinny Sharon. But Ozzy was telling the story about how he used to get so fucked up that he would cheat on Sharon. And he told the story about he went to Japan and he brought Sharon with him, and they were in their hotel room. Ozzy left, and he got all fucked up, and he got so fucked up that he forgot he brought Sharon with him. So he brought a girl back to the hotel room, and there was Sharon, and Sharon apparently fucked the girl up and kicked her out, and then fucked Ozzy up. And Howard's like, "What? You got so fucked up, you forgot your wife was with you?" He's like, "Yeah, I can't even remember."
I mean, as much as people hate on her,
I
I
love her.
mean, she really did fucking love the guy, and she really did stick with him through thick and thin.
Yeah.
And that's true love there. I mean, most women would never have put up with the shit. And she not only did she, get him through it, she made him a better person, and he became sober and did all that because of her. I remember it was talking. It might have been the same Stern interview you're talking about. He's like, she took me to fucking Betty Ford, and I thought, all right, at least there's a bar there. He thought that only she said the only way she can get him to go to rehab is if he knew there was a bar on site. And he got there. He's like, all right, I want to go to the bar. And she's like, there's no fucking bar here. You know what I mean? So, it's hilarious.
There's a lot of talk about how she was a really shady manager. She fucked over a lot of other bands and artists. There's a lot of talk about how she uses Ozzy for money. I would say, one, I would believe that could have been a ruthless person in the music business. Maybe she did fuck some people over. Maybe she was hard as fuck and she was ruthless. I could see that. Two, I don't believe she used Ozzy for his money, because if you're using somebody for money, you divorce them and you take their money. You don't sit around and get cheated on over and over and over and over again like she did. Um, in the same way that I'm kind of one of the few people that believes that Gatsby and Daisy really loved each other, I do believe that Sharon and Ozzy had a real thing. I think she really did love him. I'm sure there was a lot of flaws or difficulties with that relationship. But yeah, no, I think she was great. Like you said, I think overall, I think her and him were. I mean, dude, he died married to her. Like, they met in Ozzy's fucking prime,
What
and
a big ass family. I mean, they have children and grandkids and like all this shit. So it's gonna be interesting to see um his leg. I mean, we already know his legacy is huge. But like, are they gonna make a movie about him? Or are they gonna make a Netflix
oh
special? I'm
god,
sure.
we're gonna get those
Which
fucking
I'm cool with
biopics.
that. I'm cool with that. Just because of who he is.
Yeah, but I hope they're better than I hope we wait a little while, because some of the biopics today that are all starring, like, who's the guy that just played, who's that kid actor that just played like Bob Dylan and Elvis, and Austin Butler just played Elvis and I hated that. I would just hope I hope we wait a little bit, right? As long as they don't rush a biopic Hollywood into production tomorrow. Like, let's give it 5 or 10 years, maybe even 20, that's what I
It's
would
gonna be
like.
less than that. It's gonna be less than that.
I know. It's gonna be like fucking next month, I know.
What you're saying is put some fucking quality into it and make it authentic.
Yes.
See, and it's kind of goes back to like I know like you talk about the Manson documentaries and how like some of them are just complete fucking bullshit. Like some of them are like, and you're big on Manson shit, and you can tell like this isn't the truth. You know what I mean? So I feel like that also goes into the biopics and documentaries of artists as well. I guess we'll see.
I'm only distracted now because Bill Moseley, Otis Driftwood,
Yeah, hell yeah.
he posted 2 hours ago. So Bill Moseley, coincidentally, also, like I said today, the 20-year anniversary of the Devil's Rejects, from Otis Driftwood, he posts, "Sad day now that we've gotten the news about Ozzy. I met him 20 some years ago when Buckethead called me up and asked me to accompany him to a meeting with the Prince of Darkness himself at a private guitar showroom in LA. Ozzy, there with a pal, was noodling on the piano when we arrived. He handed Buckethead a few guitars, which of course he proceeded to shred, delighting Ozzy, who said that Buckethead reminded him of Randy Rhoads. Ozzy opined that if they worked together, the name Buckethead would have to change. Ozzy contemplated just calling him Head. Thinking that I was Buckethead's manager, Ozzy invited the two of us up to his Beverly Hills house. The house was behind a big gate operated by a guy in a security booth. As we arrived, Sharon and the kids were about to leave in a black SUV limo. Outside the gate across the street was a small swarm of fans. The Osbournes' TV show was wildly popular at the time, hence the fence, the gate, and the personnel. Ozzy took us into his home, offered us soft drinks, showed us his cool color marker drawings as we watched what I can't remember on the big screen TV. Hanging out with Ozzy Osbourne. After a chill hour or two, Buckethead and I gently moved on. Things never worked out with Ozzy, but of course, Buckethead ended up playing for a spell with a little band called Guns N' Roses. Thanks for the memories, Ozzy. Bought your first album on the Vertigo label in 1970 in Switzerland, based entirely on the cover. I'd never heard of Black Sabbath. I was 17, and I thought the name and spooky cover chick looked pretty cool. Ah, those were the days. Incidentally, in the first album credits, Ozzy was spelled Ozzy. It was spelled Ossie. So glad he was there for the grand finale in Birmingham. I'd call that a proper farewell. What's your favorite Ozzy song / memory? That's funny that Bill Moseley never just said, "Oh, I'm not his manager." Like Bill Moseley was just like, "Yeah, sure, I'm his manager."
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out with Ozzy Osbourne in Beverly Hills. That's cool. That's a nice little thought there. That's cool.
John Daly is getting a biopic.
Jonah Hill.
Fucking
That is fucking weird.
That's what I'm saying. I would be down for an Ozzy biopic, but just please don't let it be like Tom Holland that plays Ozzy Osbourne. You know, like let's find an actor who's going to do it justice. You know, maybe let's find an unknown guy who really can do the part. Let's not get Youngblood to play Ozzy Osbourne in a movie or something.
Oh
like,
my god!
You know, let's really do it. I can't believe that girl deleted her fucking comment. It's the same girl. I've talked shit about this girl on the channel before. I've gotten into a little thing with her. She was complaining about how her life is so terrible because they removed in the federal calendar, they removed like Women's Day or something. And because of that, that means like life is over and everybody hates her because she's a girl. You know, she's one of those people. But yeah, for context, John Daly is an alcoholic redneck from fucking Arkansas. Definitely not Jonah Hill. Yeah, no, Hollywood doesn't even care anymore. You know, Hollywood doesn't even, Hollywood just did that. I guess this is kind of a separate thing, but, they're doing that new Harry Potter series. And I guess they cast Voldemort. And there was a thing came out that said they've casted Voldemort. They have their Voldemort who's going to play it in the Harry Potter series. But they are intentionally not announcing it because they know the fans aren't going to like it. They know there's going to be backlash. And like, what more do you need to know that Hollywood doesn't actually give a fuck what you think anymore? They straight up have a character cast in a upcoming series, and they're just not telling you because they know you're not going to like it. Don't you think they should be casting people that you're going to like? Like, doesn't that sound completely opposite of what they should be doing? But no, Hollywood doesn't give a fuck about you anymore because they know we're just going to eat that shit up like fucking wild animals anyways. People need to stop going to the movie theaters. People need to stop watching this shit. People need to stop hate watching stuff too. I was guilty of that for a long time. I'd be like, oh, I know this is going to suck, but I'll watch it anyways. People need to stop. No more hate watching, because that's why they keep making superhero movies, because people are like, well, fuck it. I've seen Captain America 42 times, but I like Captain America. This movie's going to be gay, but I'll go see it anyways. Like, don't go see it, and then they won't make another one. It's like, this is really that easy, but.
True.
Oh, man.
I'm about to get off here soon. I still have a bunch of shit I gotta do.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, I'm gonna get off here anyways too. The only topic we had for tonight was the Ozzy thing.
Yeah, I thought it went pretty good. You touched a lot of good stuff on with that for sure.
Protomax, the only one hanging out in chat as usual. I'll be back on tomorrow night, Protomax, if you're gonna be around. And then Mark, yeah, whenever you want to come on again, always let me know.
Yeah, man. I'm down. I got back to my 8-day fucking shit stretch of work. But once I get on my 6 days off, I'm down to come back again.
Hell yeah, right on. Yeah, like I said, anytime. Literally just message me and just let me know what days work.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me, and see you later, Protomax.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'll hit the outro. We'll get out of here.
Later.
And we're all here today to groove and have a beautiful time together, and that it's only the beginning.
Sometimes
think I'm drunk, and then I realize I am drunk. Sometimes I think I'm drunk, but then I realize I am